Taking a look back at Battlefield 5 footage from when the game was first released is actually quite weird. It reminds me of a time where I was optimistic about the future of the game, but also really quite annoyed at the way that the game had been launched. Whatever chance it had of becoming a good Battlefield World War II game had been slashed with some terrible PR and a suicidal marketing campaign. Nonetheless, I am naive when it comes to this sort of stuff and will always keep some sort of hope that things might change. I think many of you watching will be the same. We all know that the game never really stood a chance of being that good sequel to Battlefield 1, but it may have had a chance of making a comeback over the few years that it was out. What Battlefield 5 is and what Battlefield 5 could have been are very different things though. Unlike Battlefield games that came before it, DICE couldn't seem to improve the game over time, and that has taken its toll on the landscape. What I mean by this is, what's coming next for Battlefield? Is that studio capable of producing a Battlefield Bad Company 2 or Battlefield 3 standard of game, even Battlefield 1 going for something completely different and a war that hasn't been covered? Can they pull that sort of thing out of the bag? Anyway, the purpose of this video was not just to hate on the Battlefield franchise. Come on, I post 4 videos a week all focusing mainly on how amazing the franchise is. So for once we're actually going to take a look back at Battlefield 5, something we haven't done in a while, and just take a look at what it was like when it first released all those days ago. To start off, we do have some footage from the alpha and the beta. It does look quite different. Some people preferred it, others did not. The other footage that you'll see in a minute was recorded in the first few weeks of the game officially releasing, so it's the official build of the game, and I've just kept it on my hard drive with the intention of comparing it if Battlefield 5 had drastically changed over time. It just didn't really materialise though. Bugs are still quite prevalent and the basics are still missing in places, team balance is poor, cheaters run riot, etc, etc. There is a game in there somewhere, but from my experience you have to work quite hard in order to find the good times, and you're often left just fighting with all the bad stuff. One of the interesting things was the end of squad screen actually being on the map that you played. I really liked that in the beta, that was a cool little aspect. But I also noticed that the UI, although it has changed quite a lot, was pretty rubbish at the start of the game when it came out when compared to other Battlefield games, and that is the barometer really. It's how good was Battlefield 3, how good was BF4, and then how good was BF1. Is Battlefield 5 better or at least as good as those games in certain aspects? And the answer is often no. Looking at the UI, it's a bit confusing and often it's just white text everywhere. There's nothing really special going on. Something that people did enjoy though with the alpha and the beta were the red skulls that appeared. When you got a kill, a red skull would appear. When you got more than one, they'd kind of stack up together and they'd sit there. It was a bit of screen clutter, but it was something different for Battlefield, and over time that has kind of gone. We've still got the skulls, but not the red ones, and it doesn't really look the same. Also in the alpha and the beta, bugs were everywhere, and nothing really has changed over the last 18 months, 2 years, in terms of bugs. They've removed some, but there were so many in the first place, and others have appeared over time as well. When the game first did release fully, I was jumping straight onto Narvik and enjoying this night Narvik map. I thought the graphics actually looked great, whilst visibility was poor, trying to spot soldiers that kind of merged into the ground, and there's many reasons for that, but that was annoying. In terms of the environment though, it looked really, really good and quite special. A good example actually, in the background you can see the white HUD almost merging into the snow in the background. That's, you know, a basic mistake that's been made there. You can't really have that. If we looked at the Battlefield 4 HUD on white snow, it's a lot better. And I think they did improve that over time with BF5, but it's still a long way from what we had in BF3 and BF4, something that definitely would need to change. This map though looked great, and it's a shame we didn't really get more night maps, maybe more maps that focused on the scenery in Battlefield and really capitalised on this good looking game in some parts. Instead we got a massive visibility fix, is what it was called. Distant haze was put in. It made a lot of the maps look really bad. The atmosphere was taken away and they looked bland, desaturated and fairly generic, which is a shame. I want a map that looks like Saving Private Ryan. a Hollywood movie, if you like, and then you have your gameplay within that, so everyone gets what they want. But unfortunately, that's not what happened. So I'll let some more of this gameplay go in the background, just as I talk for a second about the future of Battlefield 5, but also the future of Battlefield with the next game that's coming out, because a few interesting things have been mentioned recently on social media. More recently, DICE have brought the franchise to Steam, and that's definitely helped matters, both in terms of player numbers on Battlefield 5 and just exposure for the game. It's great to have it on Steam, on PC. That is a massive platform to market the games. Will the next Battlefield be teased soon though? That's what people are looking forward to. What have DICE got in store for us? They've been awfully quiet, so maybe a big surprise is just around the corner. There we go again, that's the naive Battlefield fan in me, as I remain optimistic in spite of recent events. But there have been a few leaks recently that have suggested that the next Battlefield game will have at least 128 players on the big mode, and even larger maps than we've seen previously. Let's take Battlefield 3 and some of the biggest maps they had on there. How about 128 players on a map like that? That would be incredible. Some people don't agree, some people think more is not always better, but I think Battlefield is always about bringing something new to the table. BF4 had Levolution, you know, Battlefield 1 had behemoths and this amazing new kind of animation system for the weapons. It just looked amazing, everything was incredible. What do we get with Battlefield 5? Well, there wasn't really anything new. The next Battlefield game needs to have something big that will get players through the door, and then they enjoy the other modes once they're in. Maybe the 32 player modes are what you stay for, but 128 player battles, that's really a great thing to have on the cover of your game. Could we see more Battle Royale? I don't know really, it could be interesting. I'd like to see a spin-off title focused purely on Battle Royale and keep the main Battlefield franchise doing what it does best. Firestorm, that came with Battlefield 5, was the first attempt, you could say, at a BR mode with DICE, and it's considered by most people as a missed opportunity as opposed to a failure, although it didn't really succeed, so I guess in that case it probably was a failure. DICE tried to jump on the BR bandwagon, but they didn't really see the project through, and we've seen this in the past with incursions on Battlefield 1 as well. Half-baked projects that get released with so much hype and then fall flat after 2 weeks. A different approach might also be required for the next game in terms of the way it's marketed and pushed out. We've seen Apex come out in a really different way in recent times, and even more recent than that, Fall Guys has come out and just, it's a completely different game to Battlefield, but it's been very eye-opening when it comes to community involvement. People love the official Fall Guys Twitter account and feel as though they are part of something larger than just a game. It's almost as if the game itself has a personality and people will buy into that. In the case of Battlefield 5, it seemed to work in the opposite direction, with the official accounts being used to post news, updates and mostly coming soon articles that frustrated the community, turning the community against the game and all the devs, which is incredibly toxic. I'm not sure how it happened, but you just don't want to see that with a video game. That being said, does the entire structure of Battlefield need changing? It could do with a shake-up, I think. No harm could come from it, but I definitely want to see changes when the next game comes out. So, what do you think of that? We've got some footage, as I've said throughout this video, from when Battlefield 5 first came out. We've reminisced a little bit. We've taken a look at what might happen in the future and really how little Battlefield 5 improved over those 2 years when it comes to what we started with and what many people thought we should end up with. Let me know your comments down below. I'm interested in what you've got to say, and I'll catch you in the next video.